Welcome back, everyone, to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aviation maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes of giving you that split seconds relief in your day that can possibly prevent a mishap. I'm your co-host, Six.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Shoreline, is here again, silently in the back, monitoring our audio, making sure our faces stay fit for radio. Joining us here today is a very special guest. You might recognize him from some of his amazing aircraft mechanic facts videos. This is his first ever podcast, mind you, so we are very excited that he chose to roll with us instead of someone bigger. Here to share some more interesting facts with us, please welcome Max from Airplane Facts with Max. Welcome aboard, Max.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
A little offshoot, Max shared a very awesome fact of us, and they're kind of still feeling it.
What's that? Which one?
Oh, about this was about the whole failing forward or failing upwards.
Failing upwards, yeah.
Failing upwards, yeah. Like,
that's how you get into management.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm self-loathing over here and questioning life.
I
will be using that in the meeting, though, Max, guaranteed.
As we all are. It's all right.
So it means a lot that you're here with us. Well, mainly because we're full-on nerds ourselves. And most of your videos, they speak a lot of technical knowledge, which we relate to. But more so all the lore that you interject with it.
Right.
So we're like nerding out on so many levels. Like, I know what that means. I understand.
I mean...
So when did you first decide to interject some Lord of the Rings lore into your videos? Because it flows so well, like you're not expecting it, right? You're watching the video, like, this is interesting. Watching, no, he's replacing this and that and the other, and then it's correlating to this event in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So I started making the airplane fact videos just about a year ago, and at first I just was doing them like I think my first ever one where I said this is a airplane tire and it's different than tire on your car because it's installed on an airplane. And like that was the fact. And most of them were just kind of like offshoots of that, kind of silly. And one day I was at work and I was like, I wonder. I was rereading Lord of the Rings, my annual reread, and I was like, I wonder if I could like include Lord of the Rings in an airplane fact somehow. But like, how could I incorporate the two? And then I was looking at the engine. I was like, fan blades, blade, sword's a blade. Easy, and then I just rolled with it and it totally took off. Very unsuspected. I never thought that my knowledge of Tolkien would ever get me any views on the internet.
Well, I think it says a lot about the industry we're working, because so many people, I think, it took off, right? So many people related to it, and everybody's like, oh my God, one of us.
Well, yeah. And also, like, I saw, there's so many great aviation like content out there, but it's all really technical. And I was like, I'm kind of an idiot, so I feel like it'd be funnier if I just didn't try to make a technical video, because that's not my thing. I mean, it could be, I guess.
I mean, that's us to a T, right? Like, why are you stalking us, man? Like, because that was more or less us too when we started the show. I mean, backstory for everyone out there. Like, I think we've said this like 100 times already, but when we started the show, there was really not that much out there for aircraft maintenance as far as podcasts was concerned, other than the technical lectures, the study help for a test, or like,
right. It feels like you're in Gym Fam. And you're like, yeah. I get paid to go to Gym Fam. I don't want that right now.
Right.
Yeah. I guess if I want to go to sleep right now,
if I want a good nap, I'd go to Gym Fam. Like, come on.
Right. And then we didn't really have anything to
I've never napped in Gym Fam ever.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, for sure, everybody. Professional all around.
I've never done that.
That's unsafe. And nothing's more unsafe than unused knowledge, right? Or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like when we started a lot of this, we didn't have anything to base ourselves off of, and so how it evolved really is our third man Trollin would have his video feed up, and we just start talking, and somewhere along the lines we said something that he found extremely funny, and he just started laughing, and he had himself on mute, but we can see his reaction. He was like bawling out of control, laughing. So then it started to be like a challenge between myself and MVP to just like talk about some airplane stuff that we find normal, and he just found extremely funny, and then it's kind of evolved from that point.
I do love that.
So we can relate very deeply.
Yeah, I just decided one day, I was like, let's talk about Lord of the Rings. Like, there's two things I know about, and it's Lord of the Rings and airplanes. Like, that's really it, right? I don't know much about anything else.
And then that's more or less what we do. But we've kind of like jumped around with all kinds of nerdy stuff. Like, we don't know a whole lot about certain lore, but we know like a good chunk of stuff. Like Lord of the Rings was a big one for us, and then it kind of went teeter-totter to Star Wars for a bit. Mostly myself. MVP just kind of was just nice enough to listen. And,
fair. I do love Star Wars. I got a Star Wars tattoo. A bad one.
Of which?
It's the Rebel Alliance insignia. It's on my chest. It's real bad.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
real bad isn't like bad isn't good, or real bad isn't like
no.
My friend did this on a Friday night in their kitchen.
The latter. Yeah, the latter.
Oh,
yeah.
Very well.
He was like, I'm not very good at circles. I was like, only one way to get better, dude. Let's go, man.
All I hear was,
yeah.
All right, only one way to do this.
Yeah, practice makes perfect, dude. You could practice on a tangerine or whatever, some pigskin, but I'm right here. It's all good. It's not permanent. It's only going to be there for like what 80 years or so, and then it'll be long gone. So it's all right.
It's all right.
Right on.
I'm happy with it. Everybody's got a bad tattoo. That's my bad one.
Yeah, right. Or at least some version of it. And then what we've been really nerding about as well, and we kind of sort of interjected in the show, kind of based on like what some of the stuff you did, was Warhammer, 40K. Like, this is again, it's kind of going back to like how you discovered like people were into Lord of the Rings. Well, at least people liked your videos enough to like it because of Lord of the Rings. Is we just had like this open conversation about Warhammer, like myself and MVP, and a bunch of other people like, oh my god, you guys like Warhammer? And then they just started going out of control. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, dude, Warhammer is a whole thing. You can't just you can't just casually mention Warhammer and not expect like.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way myself.
Yeah, Warhammer goes hard.
Yeah, it's a whole like the different eras of stuff, and like I think where we jumped in at was like, and I remember why we got into it, or what triggered us to like start getting into it, but we jumped in at like the 40K stuff, and then kind of right there at the beginning of the Horus Heresy. Again, this all happened a while ago in the lore era, but this is where I jumped in my reading and viewing of it. So
are you the Warhammer expert?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any stretch of the word, but I watch and read a lot of stuff on it, on the lore. The lore is like fascinating to me. And like some of the videos out there these people do, it's like legit watching a documentary of something that really happened. Like a lot of detail and effort goes into them, and it's impressive.
I'm not a Warhammer expert, but I will say I don't know if you ever played the Space Marine video game, but that was an underrated game, and it was a lot.
Very much so, and they're coming out with a new one.
Are they?
Yeah, Space Marine 2 coming out for PS5. Not sure when though.
Okay, that gives me something to be excited for.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I love this.
They did like a trailer gameplay like a couple weeks ago. We can share the link to you if like after the fact.
Yeah, I will watch it.
It's pretty dope. It's like 15 minutes long, but it's just kind of like them walking around the screen, maybe killing a couple of nids and whatnot. But yeah, big time. Everyone listening, like, what the hell does this have to do with maintenance, man? Like,
right. Well, yeah,
it has everything to do with maintenance.
Warhammer has
everything.
A lot to do with aircraft maintenance. For
like, this is the stuff we do when we're not working.
About while we're working on stuff.
Yeah,
we get through our day.
If you're in school for aircraft maintenance and you're worried about your orals and practicals, just read up on some Warhammer. That'll help a lot for sure. Yeah. Well, you don't know who Chaos is, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. Or then you start.
And that goes. Yeah. Now you're triggering me like the Chaos and all that stuff. You have your favorite. You have your favorite trader faction. Your favorite. I'm lost for word, but the one the
loyalists.
Yeah. Like you have your favorite of those. So for me it's the Dark Angels and or Grey Knights, and then Trader faction is anger on in the world eaters all day.
Right. This is very clearly an aircraft maintenance podcast. Like, it's all we're touching on, right? And people are gonna stop talking so much about airplanes, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I can only take in so much aviation maintenance knowledge in one sitting class.
This is too much. I mean, they have ships, that counts.
Yeah, the Mechanicum, right? So read up on that. That's the group that they're based out of Mars. They worship machines and they keep the Imperial machine rolling.
So right. But I bet Mars aircraft mechanics, they probably got B1s or B2s or something. I don't know if they're under the A&P thing.
I mean, I'm sure they would it be A&P or some other type of Mars certificate?
Well, they might be EASA.
EASA?
Yeah, I think they probably fall under EASA. Or what's the from Halo, the UNSC? Some sort of rating under there.
Yeah, I don't think my ratings translate to Mars. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll get there one day. I'll be able to find out.
Imagine that though, like, because like we're going some heavy lore, everybody. But imagine like if we were like the Mechanicum, right? Like they worship machines, they pray to machines. They think like their God. It's embodied in every single machine, and the only way it's gonna work is because you pray to it, you venerate it, you worship it. Like that's
what I do at work every day.
Yeah,
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's kind of how we do our jobs. Please work.
Yeah, I'm very pious, dude. I hook up a bunch of hydraulic lines, and I'm like, please don't leak, please. I pray to all aviation gods, old and new. Please do not leak.
It's amazing.
That's me when I try to thread something in places my hands barely fit. I'm like, please don't drop this.
Yeah, just go. Just come on. Yeah, you're trying to get the washer on. You're like, come on.
Just give me one win this one time, please. And then you hear like, damn it.
It's so cold outside. Please don't give me any oil pressure issues. I just want to run this thing and go.
It's like when you go to school, when you go to A&P school or whatever people go to school, wherever people go to school, and like their tech school, and they're learning how to do safety wire or something, and the instructor's like, "Oh, you're gonna be upside down in the cold out there doing it. It's not like out here on the bench." And I'm like, "Yeah, it won't be that bad though, And then I get out in the field, and I'm out there in Spokane, Washington, in the hell home of a Q400, just upside down, negative 20 degrees. I can't see what I'm doing, trying to do a safety wire. And I'm like, this is great. I love this. And
yeah, I mean, we've talked on that too. Like the job's very rewarding, but there are days I think no matter what industry you work in, you have those days. But when you're upside down, the blood's rushing to your head, and you're going, I made a wrong turn at some point. I don't really remember where it was at, but I made a left turn at Albuquerque.
I was changing the toilet pump on the Q, which is like that's blue juice, and like the pump, with the assembly has the filter on it, and what's the filter stopping? It's poop, and I pull it out of the toilet thing, and it's like the grossest job I've ever done at that point, up until that point. And one of the high time guys like, "You having fun?" And I was like, "I went to college for this." Yeah, I pulled out student loans for this, dude.
I pulled. I'm still paying on student loans to clean a shit filter.
Someone's got to do it, man. Yeah,
no.
Feels good.
No, I know. My Blue Juice experience was we had a stuck like the lav door, the service door on the outside of the from the outside of the jet where you hook up the lav cart to drain the tank. Well, the valve got frozen shut. And so I had a senior guy come out there, and he was like, "Oh, you're quit messing around with it. Just take a screwdriver and smash it in there and open it up." And I was like, why don't you show me how to do it? And man, the guy got covered.
You didn't.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing these anymore."
Yeah, no, dude, no. I do love a good vacuum system. I'll be honest. I don't miss the Blue Juice.
So, yeah, not a fun time. Excuse me.
No, it never is. Nobody likes that.
So I got to ask real quick, because I'm pretty sure you've probably got some flack from this quite a bit. So for those who don't know Max, he has some heavy metal hair, right? Like full on, like metal. I love it. Personally, I love it. Right. But I would assume like some people maybe at work or some people on various forms of internet, because there are people who are like that who would talk smack about that. If has anyone like ever confronted you about it, or well
No, like sometimes some of the guys at work call me Jesus, Ginger Jesus.
Ginger Jesus. Right.
Yeah. A lot of people like, isn't that a safety hazard? I'm like, I mean, you can have long hair. Like I tie it up, when I'm working on something that's like I'm sticking my head up in like the wheel well. Like, yeah, my hair's tied back. But no, at work, like everybody's pretty cool about it. And sometimes the older guys kind of stare at me like, "What are you doing here, hippie?" And I'm like, "What? I just haven't got a haircut in a few years, man. It's all good."
So I'm here to bless the plane, man. Plain
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Come on. How else is this thing gonna run?
33 and Skydrow is really good for your curls. So it works well, It's good.
What's that bounce? It's bounce. You get bounce.
Yeah, it adds volume. It smells great. Everybody loves it.
You get the urge to herbal.
Yeah, I'll get like a bunch of 33, the grease in my hair, and I'll go to the store and be like, "Well, what's that smell?" And I'm like, "Oh, they love it. Everybody loves this."
Yeah, you get like the Aerosol grease, and it's like pomade. You're a Dapper Dan,
right?
Like Dapper Dan man.
If it's good enough to lubricate a 737 main landing gear, it's good enough to lubricate my hair for sure.
It's like
it's more expensive than Pantene. It's more expensive than Maybelline, so it's got to be good.
Right, yeah, it's a. I'm sure like the Kardashians use it,
Oh,
I think
100%.
they do. I think they won't tell you that. But yeah, their secret's Aeroshell 33.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
That's where the sheen comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's shiny. Yeah, it works good.
Anti-corrosive, man. Like, look at this.
Yeah, and if you've got blonde hair, it adds like a nice color. It's good. that weird teal that you can't place. Yeah, it's great. Or whatever. I don't even know how to describe the color. Like it's a weird color. Is it turquoise? What is it? How would you describe it? It's like green, kinda, but blue also. It's a weird. It's
like an aquamarine.
I don't know. See, this all sounds way prettier than it actually is. All I see.
We're really actually talking it up.
Yeah, people are gonna be like, I should get some aerosols like that. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Disclaimer: please don't put aerosol in your hair.
Yeah, don't put aerosol or Skydrow in your hair. I do not put aerosol or Skydrow in my hair, and I do not condone that.
Please,
all right, I gotta ask you this then: how many times have you think you washed your hands really well, or thought you washed your hands really well until you went to the bathroom and realized that the Skydrow didn't fully come off the hands?
You make that mistake once for sure. I love I always say I love having a job where I got to wash my hands twice every time I go to the bathroom. It's great because you wash your hands first, go to the bathroom, then wash them again.
And I still do that. Like even
I'm
days
diligent.
where I'm not working, like on an aircraft or whatever, I still like out of habit go wash my hands first. Even the spouse Kool-Aid, she was like, "Did you wash your hands before you went to the restroom?" Oh yeah, I guess I did.
Just leave me. Just leave me be, okay? It's a habit I don't want to break.
Look, yeah, maybe we're at the fair. Maybe we're out at dinner. I don't know. Maybe but I can't be 100% certain that there's not Skydrow on the bottom of this plate. Yeah.
If anything in my career has told me, there probably is.
Right. So
I don't know how it got there, but it's just there.
Right. You're at a nice steakhouse. You're like, there could have been Skydrow on something. I'm not taking that chance. We're washing twice.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you're like in a heavy maintenance depot or whatnot. Like everything about it is just going to get you dirty. Like, period. Like, there's no walking in there and walking away clean. Like, period.
At my last job, which was actually not airplanes, it was trains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I took a year sabbatical and worked on trains. They called me Pigpen because and it's true for the planes too. I don't know how, like, I work with these people and they can like do a full gear lube or whatever, and they come out and they look like they didn't touch anything, but they did, and I come out just completely covered head to toe, like soot, grease, whatever carbon,
I had an instructor in A&P school, and he said, he goes, if you get dirty in aviation, you're doing it wrong.
Well, then
And
I am
was
the
like,
worst aircraft mechanic in the world.
But then I had another instructor walk up after that person and go, that's because that motherfucker didn't do anything. And you're like, okay, all right.
He's one of those fail upward guys, Yeah.
He goes, you're going to get dirty. He goes, but if you get soaked from head to toe in some hydro fluid or whatever else, or fuel, like, yeah, you might have done a step incorrect there. But I got to tell you, I've changed, like on a Citation 10, to change the filter, the wing tank filters that are at the wing roots. You're on your back up underneath on the ground, and the design is like you can't. The only catch can you could put under there would be like a 5-gallon bucket. Well, guess what? I'm on a ramp at 3 a.m. in some really small airport in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and you just get soaked. It's like
gonna happen.
There's no escaping it the way it's designed.
Yeah, I was like just last week I was doing a removing the landing gear on a 737, and we were at the point where we were like pulling the bushings out, right? So I'm up in there pulling the bushings with another guy, and both of us get out from the wheel well, and I'm just like filthy, right? And he's just fine. And I'm like, I don't know how you do this. How are you doing this? How is everybody doing this? My buddies, like my best friends I work with, fine. They never get dirty, but they work crazy. We do the same jobs. I look at a wing and I'm just dirty. If I get within 5 feet of an airplane, I'm filthy. I don't know. I can't help it. I'm like a magnet.
Maybe that's why they work with you, because you're absorbing all the dirt and grime, and then they just walk away scot free.
Yeah, I'm like the human equivalent of a ShamWow. I just soak it up.
That is kind of interesting though, because you look at him, and you go, "How are you not this dirty? We were in the same gear well."
Yeah, I don't
at the
get
same
it.
time.
I'm confused. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm just.
And he's
doing
like, "Well, I am
stuff.
dirty," but he goes, "The dirt that's on me actually rubbed off from you when I bumped against you."
Right? Yeah. I don't know. My hair stays clean. That's what's important.
Yes,
it is important. You're talking about the long hair. We actually just talked. Was it last week we talked about this 6 or the week before?
Oh, right.
Anyways, at a place where we used to work very recently, I'm gonna take the fun out of it here real quick. But a girl lost her life on the line. She had long hair to her waist, didn't have it secured, and they got caught in a rotating propeller.
Holy!
And as it pulled her in, and she tried to pull it out, she lost her arm, and the next blade split her head. So, reiterating the importance of everybody, and to you, Max, just
it is
make sure the hair secured wherever you're at.
Yeah, when you gotta. That's sad, man.
It is sad. Sorry, I took the wind out of the sails.
No, it's okay.
Quick,
it's important. It is like safety first, and you got to be like aware of your surroundings, right? So it is true. Like when people ask me, like, is it okay to have long hair or whatever? Because I do get asked that quite often, actually, in my like DMs and in comments. And 95% of the time at work, I have it tied up, just because even though like I work in heavy maintenance, right? So I'm not on the line where it's as fast paced. I usually do like 20 to 30 day checks. And so, the plane on the same plane, right? So the plane's just sitting there in the hangar getting, disassembled and reassembled basically. But even just for like my own comfort, sometimes my hair will be down and I'll get up in the wheel well or whatever. And you'll feel like it caught on something and it's just like an uncomfortable thing. And so just to avoid all that, I tie it back, which I just kind of got in the habit of most of the time that I'm working, it's tied up.
Yeah, I actually watched some guys with long hair. They might not have it tied up once they, like they'll get to work and it'll be hanging down. And depending on what they get tasked out to do that day will kind of depend on if they tie their hair up. But if they're climbing up inside or doing anything around rotating equipment, they actually always bring one of those fishing shirts with the built-in hood.
Oh yeah,
on them. So it's like a real thin material, but they'll actually slide that on, and then they'll pull the hood up over their head, so their hair is actually stuffed down inside the shirt.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was kind of I thought a neat way to
I used to
contain the hair.
When I used to work for Horizon up in Washington on the Q400, the turboprops, the just propellers in general, when they're running on the ramp, they made me pretty nervous, right? I mean, I was around them all the time, but it was like, it's kind of, I don't know, propellers they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. And I never even got, and I worked on props a lot, and every time you'd have to get near one doing tests, you're reading, you got sensors and boxes hooked up, and you're taking different readings as they're running. And I was probably within, 5 or 6 feet of the rotating assembly, and even that was like nerve wracking.
Oh yeah, that's too close for me. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, me mostly with helicopters, but same thing with the tail rotor. You got this thing spinning anywhere from 800 to 1600 revolutions per minute. Like if anything comes in there, you're not gonna feel it. You're just gonna wake up in a different dimension. That's
right.
It's like those memes where you see the guy, like they pull a gun on him. He's like, "Give me your money," and they try to get brave with it. And next thing you know, they're like in the clouds, right? The background's the clouds in the sky, and they're like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it would be.
Yeah. So we got pretty grim. We got pretty grim dark on that one.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it is like, we were doing a leak test on a 787 once, and we're walking up to the engine, and then like as we got like kind of closer to it, they gave us the all clear on the radio to check the engines that's spooling down to go open the TRs and stuff. And we're getting up to the engine, and then we hear a boo, and the sound of a turbine starting, and it was like out of there, right? And somebody up in the flight deck like flipped some switches and kicked on the fuel pumps, and it started spooling back up while we were walking up to it. I was like, that was not cool. I did not like that. And it takes a while for it to spool up, but still I was not very happy about it.
Right, but that just imparts more of that, because you can be as safe as you want to, but you're still at the mercy of others many times over.
Right. And when you're out there, like, working on a big airplane or even a small airplane, you got to really be conscious of if somebody's in the flight deck and they kick on hydraulics, you don't know what the flight controls are going to be doing. You don't know, are the spoiler locks in? Is it going to go up and down? Or even something stupid. Like the other night I was at work and I had to remove a toilet, and I was like, oh yeah, has anybody taken the pressure off the potable water, right? Has somebody turned the water pressure off or whatever and drained the tank? And they're like, yeah. Well, then I disconnect the toilet line, and that had not happened. And then your boy got a face full of toilet water, That's fine. That's just a gross one.
And I had something similar to those, but it's mostly with fuel. My vice is fuel. Always fuel. Hey, did you guys drain this? Absolutely, yes. You sure? Yes. I pull the drain, or I pull the plate or filter, whatever, gushing fuel everywhere. And then it's almost to the point where I gotta like vacuum seal half of my body, just so like if I touch it, at least it'll like eat through the plastic before it starts eating through my skin.
Right.
But that's it's one of those, like, I can't, how do I trust you? Because every single time, like, if I have to touch it, it's almost guaranteed going to have something in it. And
what did Reagan say? Trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
I think we've all been bitten by that once, and you gotta trust your people that you're working with to a certain degree in this industry, especially working on large aircraft like Max does. Somebody's up in the cockpit and somebody's in the hellhole. So it's just for sake of time and efficiency, you got two people going, but you get burned like that once, and you're like, all right, yeah, I turned off the switches. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm actually going to just verify that before I go back there.
Right. Like, yeah, when I got the, the toilet water in my face, the only person I was mad at was myself. I should have gone and checked.
Mm-hmm.
And
you look at your coworker and you're like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Right. And it wasn't even
the
them.
Disappointing dad thing to him.
Well, it wasn't even them. It was like the shift before. It's always the shift before, right? It wasn't anybody on my shift. It was the other shift. It's always the other shift.
Man. Back to the shift wars talk.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, well, it
exists, and for a reason, for those very reasons. you just explained. That's why those things happen. We don't just make it up, everybody.
It's always day shift's fault. But now that I'm on day shift's never done anything wrong. It's every other shift's fault. So.
Yes. Gotcha. No, now that you mentioned that was totally us too, because majority of our lifetimes we've been on night shift ourselves, and MVP and I have voiced many grievances about like how we would leave like detailed turnovers. We basically have the plane laid out for them, like, you know, in sequential order. You walk out door, pick up wrench. It's like a video game almost, you know, like the simplest video game possible. Leave door, pick up wrench, go to plane, put wrench on plane, walk away from plane, done. And and they would still like be like, yo, like we didn't do anything because we didn't know what you guys did the night before. Like, what do you mean you didn't know what you did before? Laid it out.
I gave you a walkthrough. I even counted the steps I took from this building to that building, like in between. Like that's how detailed. You know?
I took a video of what I did and sent it to you.
Yeah,
I time-stamped everything.
You know, like shy of doing like a video game walkthrough of exactly point for point of what you're supposed to be doing. I don't see how much easier it could be. Yeah, well, that looked too intensive, so we just did not. We just ignored it and pretended you didn't do anything. Like, really?
Yeah, you guys will be able to pick back up on that tonight, sure, for sure.
And we would.
Right. That's the name of the game, dude. That's the nature of the beast. And now I'm a day shifter, so I get to do that to you.
So what do you like working more, days or swings or mids?
You know, well, this is my first real stint on days. I've done it for a week now, so I can't give you an honest review of it.
Okay.
But midnight shift, I worked for a long time. I do like how quiet it is, you know, comparatively, like there's not a whole lot going on minus, you know, the people that are working. Both when you're on the line, you know, the airport's empty minus the mechanics. And then when I even worked in hangar, you know, it was just, there's not a lot of support staff there. It's just your mechanic crews really. But I don't like sleeping during the day. So not the biggest fan of the overnight. Second shift, I think, is nice. You know, I like being able to wake up at my leisure and then, you know, getting off at 11 o'clock at night is what time I'd get off, which wasn't bad.
Yep.
But
that was always my favorite shift was seconds. Like you said, you can wake up at your leisure, or you get up and you can go to the store and run errands when everybody else is at work. So there's no real lines or many people to interact with that way.
Yeah, it's like
that was where at least majority where I worked, majority of the work got done.
Was on seconds.
On seconds, yeah, was on seconds, and then you still had a normal day, right? It's like you said, you get it off 11:30 midnight. But I always tell people, especially the young guys, and I still tell them when they go to that shift, I said the key to making this shift work is you have to go to sleep as soon as you get home.
Right.
Treat it as like it's a normal day for you. Go to sleep right when you get home. Get up at 7 or 8. And then have your full day and like, oh my God, but I'll be awake hours and then still have to go to work for hours. I'm like, it's the only way it works. You have to treat it like it's part of a normal day.
Right. Yeah. So what I don't like, there's two different types of midnight work that I worked, the overnight shift. And when I worked on the line for Horizon, I liked working overnights, right? Because the planes fly in, you know, you see all the passengers get off. As far as commercial goes, or 121, whatever. And, you know, the plane comes in, you got your bill of work, you got write-ups, you fix the airplane, and then you see the airplane fly out in the morning, which is pretty satisfying, right? Mm-hmm. You feel like you're making a real impact in the operation, right? And that was like satisfying to me, even though I was working, you know, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever it was. When I moved into the more heavy maintenance, like MRO 20, 30-day check, where you're doing C checks and, you know, real in-depth maintenance, I didn't like midnight shift as much because, you know, some nights you're just like doing a lube or changing panels or whatever. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this at 4 o'clock in the morning? I could be doing this at any time. Really, you know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get the same level of of satisfaction as I did when I worked the line and I got to like see the planes flying, because I understood like that's the only time the plane's on the ground for you to work on it, right? Because it should be flying and making money during the day. So night's the only time you're going to work on it. Whereas when you're working in a heavy maintenance, you're like, well, I feel like I could be doing this at any time.
Yeah, because this aircraft's here for 30 plus days or whatever.
It's going to be here for a month. Like, I don't know why I need to be pulling panels at 5 a.m., but here I am. So,
yeah,
it's just the nature of the beast. Some guys really like it. And then what is nice in the heavy maintenance side when you're doing on midnights, which isn't every night, but you do a lot more of the engine runs and like gear swings and a lot more of the functional stuff that you don't want to do while there's a ton of people in the hangar and around the airplane.
Right. Yeah. That's the one caveat that I was going to say when I work corporates. Same thing. You get your, like, I would get to work and the aircraft hadn't even landed. I would already have the work ordered and say, all right, you got to travel from whatever our home station is to, let's say I was based out of Van Nuys at one point, and you got to travel. You got to go to Palm Springs. This jet's slated to land at 11 p.m. and it's got a revenue flight at 7 a.m. And here's the list of work you got to get done in that time. So you're beating feet to get out to Palm Springs and dealing with the traffic and all that. But like you said, you're out there and you're like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's got an oil pressure issue. Cool. I get to taxi tonight. Right. I get to taxi, run engine. So you'd fire that, it'd land, pilots leave, you take control. And next thing you know, you're out there, you're taxiing the jet out to the hammerhead to run engines up at power.
Yeah,
that was always fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Like when I was working on the Qs, so much of my like fun line experience was there. Obviously, from what it sounds like I just worked for them, but that was a good year. It was a good time. But they flew me from Spokane to Sun Valley, Idaho to fix the aircraft, right? And they flew me on an empty one to pick up the passengers on the broken one. And they're like, what's your ride home at the plane that you're fixing? So it's like, fix the plane so you can get back. Mm-hmm. And then you fix the plane, you fly home on it. And you're like, that was awesome. You feel, it's like, it's very tangible. Yeah. You're like, I did this.
See the results of your efforts.
I fixed the airplane. I'm going to fly on it. Right. Which is very fun. And taxiing is great. I love taxiing. I don't taxi anymore.
Yeah. I miss doing like high speed taxis, checking out different things. Power runs, like I've taxied in a snowstorm in Louisville, Kentucky, to the point where I couldn't even see the lights anymore. So we got out there in the middle of the night and we're running engines and we're chalked up, but you can feel the aircraft skidding underneath you on the snow and ice. And then having to have like a guide truck come out and you have to basically follow me truck, and you follow that thing and they take you back to the ramp because you couldn't see anything. So, it's nerve wracking, but it's fun,
We had a plane get hit with a jet bridge in Dublin not too long ago. And then, they had to send a bunch of guys out from work. They flew them from where I'm at all the way out to Dublin to change a door. They're there for, I don't know how long they were there for, but like, you just don't get that in a lot of other industries, which is one of the things I do love about aviation.
Yeah, being able to travel. We don't get to do it so much anymore. Probably, you experience it too now with kids and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't sign up for the field trips anymore. But yeah, I don't do field trips anymore. But one day when they're gone, I'll be like, yeah, I guess I'll go to Dublin. Why not?
Yeah. Like, oh, what's the worst that could happen in Dublin? Yeah. We've had something similar to that. Maybe not as cool places, but it's one of those like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna have to set this down here in Reno, Nevada, or Las Vegas, or Palm Springs. Like something's fishy. I don't like it. Right, guys? Yeah. I don't like it. Land now.
Yeah.
But that's when all the good trips happen.
Yeah, right. Or they're always like bad. Like you got to go to Yakima, Washington in February, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long night.
Yep. So
what was one of the places I went was Rochester, North Dakota in January. Like, hey, can we get this? Anyway, to change a fuel pump. Like, hey, can we get this jet put inside? Yeah, sorry, we don't have any space.
Everybody's trying to get to Rochester, North Dakota in January, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
And well, yeah.
That's a
So like
beautiful- that's a
all
beautiful
the people
place.
who had their jets there and stuff, like because it's a big medical area there, so all the doctors and stuff have their own jets. And but they're like, everybody who nobody's out of town right now. I was like, nobody's in the islands right now. Nobody's taking their private jet and flown to the islands in January here to escape this place.
Have you seen the weather in North Dakota in January? I'm trying to get out of here. Like, come on.
Yeah, I just want to fix this thing so I can leave. But I was like, can you just put it inside? And like, we don't have any space. And dude, that was like -40
That's
with
awful.
wind.
That's brutal.
And it's one of those. It was one of those where like, okay, it was me and one other guy, and I would go work for a little bit and then go back into the van with my hands on the heater, and he would go out and work. And then when he couldn't feel anything anymore, then I would go back out, and we just daisy chain like that until we were done.
You got like a heat gun just pointed at your hands, like while you're working.
I
actually had that.
If only we had a generator with us on that trip to run the heat gun.
Oh no, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, those are always the best ones.
You didn't have one of those aircraft that have like one of those 120 volt outlets? No,
I do.
No, obviously not. But no, but so we had something similar to that, man, where it would be so freaking cold. They would have like a light cart. They brought the one piece of equipment we didn't need, which was a light cart. We would, but the plugs didn't work, right? The plugs for the light cart didn't work. So what we did was we just let the light run as hot as it could, as bright as it could, so it warms up enough. Then we turn it off and just kind of like hover our hands over it like a bunch of homeless people, just like getting off the radiating heat, so we can actually feel our fingers enough to get back to work. Like,
yeah, my mom would always ask me. She's like, "You wear gloves, right?" I'm like, "No. How am I supposed to use a wrench when I'm wearing a glove? Like,
no dexterity.
How am I going to change an igniter lead wearing a glove? I can't do it. You can't do it."
Unless like to get like these paper thin gloves, like, which I will welcome this for any engineer or designer that's out there. Please hear us in this. I'm like, if you could come up with like latex thin gloves that has the same amount of protection as a welder's glove, take all my money.
Where I could touch the outer casing of an engine just after shutdown with this glove and not feel the heat.
Yeah,
take all my money.
I do work with this guy that wears these like insulated like work winter gloves, right? All the time, literally all day, every day. And he'll be like doing stuff like 1/4-inch nuts, just like in like a little. And I'm like, "How are you doing this, man?" And he's like, "Because when I take them off, I'm even better." And I was like, "How are you doing them with it on?" I don't get it. It blows my mind.
It's like, see, these are limiters just to make you all feel that I'm human enough to do this. If I were to take these off, then the real freaking awesomeness shines through. Every single one.
He'd be too good. He'd be too good.
It was like in Naruto when Rock Lee took off his leg weights.
yeah, exactly. Or like, didn't they have like an arc like that in Dragon Ball Z where he's training in like a weighted vest or something? I don't remember.
No, he was on a planet where it had like 9 times the.
That's right.
The pull of gravity or whatever, and so he was trying to chase that monkey. That's what he had to do, was chase that chimpanzee.
Yeah.
So we were hitting all the nerd wickets today.
We can hit more. I got several.
Several. So, or like, like he just like reveals his divinity, like, behold, everybody, I am actually, like, I am made of light, like, bask in my glory or whatnot.
Right.
We're all blind by your awesomeness.
So, what's been your like most, I guess your highest and your low? Like, what's been the most rewarding, thing you've experienced in aviation maintenance, and what's been kind of I know we all have lows, but there's, or something you would like to, I guess maybe that's not the way to say it. What's been the most rewarding, and then what's been something you would like to see changed from your experience, or something you'd like to see done differently?
That's tough, man. I think it's going to sound like a bad answer for like an interview, where they're like, "What's?"
Yeah,
like,
sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No, it's all good. But like like the real answer is like what some of my highs are like when you're working with a really good group of people, and it's like a tough job and you get it done. Like I don't really have a specific, I can think of several, where you in the day, like, wow, we really worked really hard and we got that done. Right. So be it installing a landing gear or removing it. And it might not be the hardest job in the world, but when it gets done like really smoothly and everything's just perfect, it just feels good. You feel very accomplished at the end of the day. And you have like a very tangible thing in front of you that you were able to accomplish, right?
Yep.
When things go good in aviation, it's just, when everything goes right, it's just amazing. It feels good. And then you see the plane take off, or I've done a heavy check on a plane and got to go up on a test flight, right? And you're up there flying around on the plane you just tore apart, which is very satisfying because you're like, look at us, we're flying. Some of the things I wish were different, and I've only ever worked for the airlines, like commercial, so I can't speak for the entire industry, but a lot of times you don't feel like and I'm sure this is true for a lot of jobs. I think aviation has a very specific reason or way of making you feel this way, but you don't feel like valued as a person sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like your personal time, your personal life, your family life, like it feels like they kind of want you to make that put that on the back burner sometimes,
Yep.
Yeah, like you should live and die for this job. And
Right.
you're not praised. Like you don't receive, right? Like pilots get all this glory and praise and whatever, but the people who keep them in the air safely don't
Right.
get that. You're
Like-
the machine, right? You're the mechanicum. Praise your machine and keep working.
Here's a story about Horizon. No shade to Horizon. Great first job. It was great. But there was this one day I was in there for training, recurrent training. I'm happy to talk about Horizon because I don't currently work for them, so it's safe. They can't fire me. But I go to their ops for training, recurrent training, and we're in this class, I think for the Embraer 175 or something. And there's a group of pilots down the hall having some training session too, like new hire pilots or something, right? And this lady comes in and she's like, "Hey guys, the pilots had pizza for lunch today." And we're like, "That's cool." Kind of expecting her to be like, "Is there a specific kind of pizza you guys would like?" And she goes, "You can go check if there's any left over when you guys go on lunch." And we're like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, we would love the pilot's leftovers. That would be great."
Oh, awesome.
How kind of you. I love that.
Like, hey, we
And-
feel bad for throwing it away, so we're going to offer it to you.
Yeah, they're like, so you walk in there and it's like there's like 2 pieces and some crust. And I was making like $17 an hour. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna eat that for sure. But you guys should have bought me a pizza, but I am gonna eat this, so thanks.
That kind of reminds me, this is triggering memories for me as well. Like MVP and I were in this one specific area and they were so adamant of having like this barbecue day. I think it was what they called it.
It was 4th of July is what it was for.
Yeah, so like big, they're like hyping this up huge, like, oh my God, food, oh my God, like
Oh, no.
party and stuff and everything, right? So they were hyping this up big. MVP and I were working second shift, so like we only heard like the back end of all this hype. And so, but they kept saying like, don't bring food, you're gonna get fed, and you're gonna get so fed you won't be able to stand up straight and stuff like that. Like, okay, cool. Hey everybody, don't need to pack lunch today. I'm gonna get fed good. We show up and everything's gone.
Yeah, poof.
Everything is gone.
I think it was like half a tray of cold baked beans, and
Perfect.
like 3 squares of cornbread, and for the entire shift. So that's your entire maintenance group. That was a documentation group. That
Right.
was facilities workers. It was for everybody, and we went in there. It was just like, what a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next day they were like, "Do you guys enjoy your food?" I said that was insulting. So we said it in like the main meeting of the day, right? The VP was in there and everything. I was like, that was insulting. What do you mean? I said there was nothing left but half a tray, and they're like, well, there was supposed to be food. I said, yeah, come to find out, you guys fed day shift 4 times. 4 times. So people went up there and made plates, wrapped them in foil, and took them home. That's what we come to find out. And I said,
that's the most day shift thing they've ever done, dude.
Yeah. And you were like, and I was like, and then we hyped it up because you told us to hype it up. So we hyped it up for the whole line. And it's like we shot their dog in front of them. These people were hungry. They're working, and they didn't bring food because they were told not to.
Right.
And by the way, this facility is not close to anywhere that you can just drive over and quick and get a burger or something. Like it's, if you're going home, if you're heading into town, you might as well just go home.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I've noticed that a lot of times, like a lot of airport jobs that I've worked, it's like you're pretty far from anything. Maybe there's a gas station, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
That's rough. You got like a vending machine.
Yep, and that's literally what it was. So like we cleaned out the vending machine. Like everyone just grabbed as many Snickers or whatever was left in there, and it was bad. And I can't remember what we did about it. I think some of us like chipped in and say, you know what, man, let's just drive. Someone just drive 45 minutes to the nearest McDonald's or something, and just bring like 60 Happy Meals for everybody or something. I can't remember what we actually did about it, but it was rough. And that was kind of like our take on that. To kind of reemphasize your point, like there's a lot of times where other individuals or other people of different positions in a certain industry, they get the pat on the back for any little thing that they do. And then there's us, they say like, well, if you did your job right, no one will know that you were even here. Like,
yeah,
I got it, but what the heck,
well, if
man?
I don't do my job right, people die. So I guess, there's that aspect to it.
Yeah.
Right. It's over time, I haven't been doing this for 40 years like some of the guys I work with, but you start to see like, oh, this is how you became a salty old aircraft mechanic. I can't wait. This is going to be awesome.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like,
I can see my decline.
Yeah, you're like, here it comes, dude. We're finally getting there.
Here's
boys.
how I become a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
This is my villain arc, yeah.
Right, yeah, you're right. And because they're like, and you're like, man, why are you so angry? And then over the years, you're just like, oh, I'm starting to get it now. I'm starting to get it. But I love it. I do love it.
Sure. But
I do wish
you see the actions of others and you're like, yeah, this is how we got here.
Yeah, I just wish there was like a little bit more like work-life balance. It can be a really tricky industry for that. And that's true not just for maintenance. I think that's true for pilots, literally everybody that works flight line, from rampers to everybody. It's just a tough industry in terms of work-life balance.
It's just how it goes. The schedule, the money flow, the revenue flights all take precedence. And
right.
We're a slave to that schedule.
Yeah, and I don't know a different way that you could change that. People need to get on airplanes. Like they do have, like, I don't know. There's no way to change it. That I can think of. I'm not.
Well, I think one thing, so we talked about this one of our first, I don't know, maybe in the first 20 episodes we did. And one of the things I think that would help would be making our industry like an actual, federally calling it a specialized industry, right? So calling it federally specialized opens up a few different caveats. One being pay scales, right? You would get guys, you could keep them, you get some that stay for 40 years, and then you get some that max out at 10, like I can't do it no more. I got to go find a normal 9 to 5. But I think if you could open up that specialization, you get more money, not only to pay people, but for training, right? You get all these different trainings. You get access to different benefits and such. And I think it just makes the industry more appealing and lucrative, right? It's like when you hear somebody who's a truck driver for UPS, you're like, wow, they had to be there. Who died so they could get into that spot? Because that's kind of how it is. And I think that would almost make it that way for aerospace maintenance because
we are classified as unskilled labor, right?
Right, we are classified, and so we see it where we're at. Like they'll hire the lowest dollar. Like you'll go, and this isn't a slight at like fast food at all, but you'll go to a sandwich shop, and on Friday, and this person will make your sandwich, and then on Monday they're in the maintenance meeting with you, and you're going, how did you get in here? Like, oh, I'm the new such and such, and you're like, what? Well, do you have any experience? Nope, not at all. And you're going, well, how are you going to do the job? And then they come and tell you, hey, you're going to train them how to do it. And then you get to talking to the individual, and because of inflation and stuff, they actually got hired on at more money the hour than you make after 5 years of being there, type thing, right? That's the kind of stuff that I think would really change to where we could keep the skill set around, keep those seasoned professionals to train those new people. But it's not just bringing in new folks after new folks, and the talent pool keeps getting weaker and weaker. You can retain some of those seasoned people we have in our industry. Because I got to tell you, in some of the places I've worked, like there was a time where it was like, I call it the golden era, and it was like everybody there knew their stuff, was, exceptional quality of work, would do anything to make sure that flight got off safely and to help their fellow maintainer do the best job that they can. And then, but like you were kind of saying, the work-life balance, and they just kind of kept getting drugged through the dirt, and eventually they were like, I can't, it's this or my family, and my family wins,
Yeah.
And then, so you lose that skill set and that knowledge base.
It's tricky, and I don't know, there's the license, there already is the A&P for mechanics, right? That you
right, but that was explained to me, right? So this was explained to me by another professor of mine, and he said this license. He goes, when we all got our licenses, he goes, this doesn't mean anything. He goes, this is a license to work. He goes, right. But none of you know anything. He goes, you know enough to be dangerous to yourselves.
That's
he goes, but this is a license to get you in the door, so where the real learning begins, so where you can become a valued member of this aerospace maintenance community. And I thought that was really kind of an interesting way to put it.
It is true though. Like my first year on the job, I did not know any. I look back at the things that I struggled with that first year, just in terms of basic maintenance. I don't know. I learned so much, and I look back now and I'm like, I was such a bad mechanic. It's so funny. I was so bad.
But you had to start somewhere, and we all did.
Oh yeah, no, and no slight there. Like I said earlier, I came into this industry with no experience as a professional mechanic. I was as green as they could come. I still am, right? I still have so much I can learn. I'm not saying I'm a great mechanic. I'm a horrible mechanic. I'm okay. I'm fine. I do okay.
I'm going to throw out another quote here that my soccer coach told me in high school. He said, "The day you stop learning is the day you're dead."
That's true.
Because you might be physically alive, but if you choose to stop learning, he goes, you're brain dead. So what's the point of being alive? What's the point of living, right?
And that is one thing I do love about aviation. We'll go back to things positives about it, is that I do love how there's always something to learn, right? It's a crazy, especially maintenance, technically speaking, they're crazy machines, and it's crazy the amount of intricacy within all the systems, right? You never know anything. Like when I spent a few years working on the 777 for the most part, and then I come working on the 37, and I'm like, I feel like I don't know anything about this airplane.
Right. And then even so, like you say, you get something down pat, and this industry specifically, it evolves so fast. So what's relevant now, give it 2-3 years, and it's like 100. It evolved into a totally different beast. What is this?
Right. It's one software update away from being a completely different airframe.
But there's a duality there too, because sometimes you're like, airplane's an airplane is an airplane's an airplane. You know what I mean? It just depends on the kind of job you're doing. If I'm removing seats, I don't care what kind of plane I'm removing seats on. You're removing seats. It's not fun or exciting. It's airplanes is an airplane, or you're removing wing panels, unless you're on a 787 because they're cooler. They've got the Torx plus bits, not Phillips. But anyways,
are those the ones that sort of look like the swastika?
No, that's the quad wing.
Oh,
Airbus.
Yeah. Okay.
Airbus loves those. That's a quad wing bit, but the Torx plus bits they're like Torx bits. They're like stars. or whatever. And what's nice is because when they
Oh
kind of
yeah,
strip
okay,
out,
I got you.
when they kind of strip out, they're already
Like the T20 or something like that.
yeah, they're T25 or whatever. But what's nice is when they kind of strip out, they're already like pre-piloted for you to drill out. Real convenient.
Yes, it's like they know this is gonna strip, right? Like
you're like man, my it's like my 1/8 drill bits just made to fit right in that hole. It's great. But yeah, they I don't know. There's always something to learn, right? And you have your license and everything like that. But there's such a disparity in terms of like pay. Like when I first started in the industry, I took a big pay cut when I first got my first job until where I am now. And I've got a good union job now, which is also good, I think, personally. My pay scale is like competitive, and it's set, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but I know people that don't work in that kind of environment, and it's just kind of random, And I don't know. I like knowing when I'm going to have my time off for my family, and how this is all going to pan out, right? Because the industry can be tricky to manage that work-life balance, but when you at least have some sort of like something you can fall back on to guarantee you get that time to spend with your family, I don't know, it's nice.
It is very nice, and
that you can actually plan life,
right?
Yeah. And that's kind of some of the stuff we've actually talked about here on the show as well, because so we've led various lives, you included, where it's a toss up. Some days you're working 3 days straight. Some days you're begging to get work. Some days like it starts off one way, then turns into another. Like, and then that really does a number on you, like physically, mentally, emotionally, and so forth. And having an outside life beyond this, you said to yourself, like sometimes like there's just no way, and we're kind of just left to our own devices to figure out a way to manage it. And it's just like that's when some people get salty. That's when risks start happening. This is when like the what's it called, the existential dread comes in. Like we're
very familiar with that one for sure.
We're doomed to have this. Like this is our life forever. We're kind of balled and chained in this.
Yeah, or like you're okay. It's my time off, but I always get called on my day offs to go do something, right? Or like, hey, is your off days, but you're also on call. Cool. Can I charge that time then? No, you can't, because what if there's no work? Well, it's not like I can go really do anything either, because you tell me I'm standby. So then there was a time where I was like, the whole day you're looking at that work cell phone and you're just like, oh my God, it's going to ring at any moment. I want to go do something fun with the family, but I know as soon as we go and start doing it, I'm going to get a call. So you do nothing. I actually started traveling with a duffel bag, and then I have like a little Pelican case of 50 pounds worth of tools in it. And I would just start traveling with that, because like I would just, if we were like, say we were down by, like San Diego or something like that, and the work, I see you're in the area down there, because they would track you via your work phone. We have a jet we need you to work. So there's been many times like I'm on the ramp in the middle of the night, wife and kids, when they were babies, are all sleeping in the car, and I'm there working on a jet.
That's crazy. I've never had to experience that. I'm very lucky, I guess.
I got a picture actually. We were in a King Air 350, one of the newer models, and as me sitting in the pilot seat, and I was doing something with the nav system, and I have a picture like holding up the phone, looking back into the cabin, and there's the wife passed out in one chair, my daughter passed out in another chair, and then my oldest son, the youngest one wasn't born yet, but the oldest one, he was passed out in another chair.
That's nuts. I've never worked on call before.
Oh, it's not
nerve-wracking.
It's not a fun life,
at least. No, I wouldn't want to. I don't think we're allowed to do that.
Probably not in the union shop.
Yeah, just based on the contract is what I mean. If we were like, obviously you're allowed to do that. If you don't,
or if you guys did that in the union shop, you would just be compensated accordingly, and probably
Correct.
It would be like time and a half pay or whatever.
Well, I think even if I don't know, I haven't looked at my contract, but I think if they have to call me, they have to like pay me for an hour, even if they call me for like 10 minutes or something for like my technical expertise or something.
Yeah, so that's similar to some of the places we've been to. Like when we're on call, like some people will be real skittish to give you a call or give certain people a call because per their contract or per their terms or whatnot, if they even pick up the phone during an on-call, you have to pay them for 4 hours minimum.
Oh man.
So
Could
like
be a 5-minute phone call, but they're getting paid for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, I guess that's a good deal on their end.
Well, we have the like our the field trip thing where if a plane gets damaged, like in Dublin or wherever, or Nebraska, it doesn't matter. They'll call you if you sign up for it. If people sign up for it, they'll call you, and then they'll be, can you be to the airport in 8 hours or 4 hours or whatever time your flight leaves, and they'll fly you to wherever you're going. And they don't have an issue with that because the guys get paid, or the people get paid however much, which is, I think it's almost 2 times their pay for the entire time they're gone or something.
Yeah, I think it was from like the time they hang up the phone till they get back is like all double time.
I don't sign up for field trips, but that's our version of on call, I guess. Is people sign up and they know what days they're signed up that they can get called, and it works for the company because they always have a list of people they can call to get to where they need them to be. And it works for us because if, like for me, as for instance, I don't like being called on my days off to go to change a windshield in wherever. So I don't get called. But there's
but even for the guys who do sign up for it, though, even for the guys who do sign up, at least they know, hey, I'm on call for these next 5 days. So right. I know not to plan anything or schedule anything because I'm on the hook for these days. It's not where it's one of those like, okay, you signed up on this and you're on there indefinitely. Never know when we're going to call.
It's funny because when they don't get called, they're always angry. They're like, I haven't got a field trip in 2 months, and you're like, man, I'm sorry, bro. They're itching to get out there.
Yeah, we've had
but then it always comes at the worst time too. You're like, I haven't got one in 2 months. All right, well, I'm going to go do this weekend. Hey, we got to send you to Podunk wherever, and you're like,
I think my friend got called like in the middle of his son's baseball game, and he's like, man.
Oh dang! Yeah, we've had those.
You can decline. You're allowed to decline based on the contract, but most people don't because they want to.
Well, probably also, the retaliation, right? You're not allowed to do it, but it would be retaliation in the form of, all right, I guess you don't really want to go on the trip then, so I guess you don't want to make money. So then they hold you hostage through your wallet.
Yeah, somehow. You never know. But yeah, I don't know. The guys, a lot of people they like doing their road trips. I'm not a fan. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do love it. I just don't have the time for it right now.
Right.
And you're doing the right thing. I want to reiterate that you're doing the right thing by spending time with your family. I used to deploy quite a bit. I would be gone for average of 6 to 9 months a year. And the longest I ever did was a solid year away. And I remember one of the deployments, my oldest son, he was probably 7 months old, and I hadn't seen him since just after his birth. So I missed a lot of first and all that, and was video chatting with the wife. Then I finished that up, and I went back out to the line, and I wasn't feeling very good. I didn't really want to be there at that moment. I just wanted to be at home. Mm-hmm. And I remember talking with one of the old salty guys that I used to work with, and I'll call him Frank. And if he's listening, he'll know who I'm talking about. But Frank's like, what's wrong? And I kind of told him the situation. He goes, well, look, let me tell you something. He goes, I spent 22 years active duty in the military, and I got out, and then I started doing this, and I've been deploying heavy ever since my retirement. He goes, I want to let you know that your kids won't remember that they grew up and they had a car to drive when they were 16 and they had new clothes and all the new gaming systems and whatever else. He goes, you want to know what they do remember? Is that you were never there. He goes, and I'm here to tell you, I am a walking example of that. He goes, my sons grew up without me, and so because of that, they want nothing to do with me now. He goes, I have grandsons, and I am doing everything in my power when I'm home to spend time with them. He's like, but it's sort of happening the same way. They're growing up without me. Mm-hmm. He goes, don't make the same mistake I did. And I came home after that deployment and I quit. I quit.
Fair.
I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, what? Well, we really need. And I was like, I can't. I was like, you have an at-home position for me? And they said, no, you're more valuable to us in the field. And I said, this is where we part ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's definitely another thing that we've always been talking about. Again, I can kind of hear this through some of your videos. I mean, as hinting as that is like, we value the time that we have. What little time we do have, we value it deeply, right? And however we want to spend it, we want to enable it to be our choice to spend it, right? Whether it's being with family, whether it's being with friends, whether it's like trying to cheer other people up with their dismal outcomes or their existential crises.
Yeah.
That's just the name. That's the name of the game. Well,
yeah,
at least.
I've always strived to like to try to make my career, my time spent at work. I've tried to find that in aviation, right? Because that's like what I value. Like, there's so many jobs that I've found, because it's not, once you get your license, it's pretty easy to get a job, right? You can get a job almost anywhere, at least right now, you know. But a lot of times there's travel involved, or you got to relocate, right? And I've moved across the country 2-3 times, just kind of chasing what I have now. But I've never taken a job that was going to mandate me to travel, because I just want to be at home with my family, you know. But that can be hard to find sometimes, right?
Most definitely.
In this industry, definitely.
Yeah,
Most
and
definitely.
that's why I always stuck with like the 121 passenger airline, right? Because even though the schedule's horrible, I know that for the most part I'm going to be at my base. That's where 99% of the work is going to be for me.
So, Mr. MVP, like, if there's anything that we've learned from all this, besides the fact that we're just some flat out nerds, is
besides that I failed upwards.
Yeah, failing upwards, right? Is, you know what I mean? We've talked quite ups and downs about aviation, right? Like some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff, with Mac's examples, MVP's examples, my examples. Well, not really mine, but we've shown, what, if there's anything that you really should gain out of this, is like, know that you're always have to have your knowledge on point. Know that you have to be willing to change. Hello, sir. Know that you're willing to change, and then also like know where your limits are, right? Like draw your boundaries quick and early, so like you know to not deviate from it. You know to not have to be given ultimatums about it. And if there comes times when you have to cross those boundaries that you set, that's probably like a good indication that, hey, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe it's time for me to move on, right? Or try something different. Max here said he did a hiatus and worked on trains, and then you had to move 3 or 4 times across the country for a job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I chose to move across the country for the job, right? But I was going after, I was trying to chase like that for me, kind of like higher in union job. That's what I was going for.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And so, but the companies that I was looking for, they didn't want you without any experience, right?
Right.
So I had to move around to try to get that experience for the resume. And then at some point I was like, oh man, I'm just going to go work on trains. And then I did. And it was a lot of fun, right? Because train maintenance and aviation maintenance is very different. Trains is like, get a bigger hammer. I mean, sometimes
it's all heavy steel and
right,
whatever else. I was
like,
like you said, use a bigger hammer.
How do I get this off the train? They're like, get the plasma cutter and cut it off. I was like, what? And I'm like, they're like, yeah, do that. And I was like, you can do that? And like, yeah, why wouldn't you be able to do that? I'm like, okay, say less.
Yeah. And then you're like, wait a minute.
Dude.
We have a plasma cutter?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like sitting there like grinning, like, this is awesome. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, this is exactly. We have a plasma cutter. We're allowed to use that? And they're like, yeah, on the train.
I also use it on personal things?
Like, go nuts.
They're like, drive your car in, bro. Who cares? It's a train depot. Nobody cares. Yeah. You're like, where's the manual? They're like, what do you mean? I was like, how do you take this off? They're like, go ask Steve. He knows how to do that. I'm like, okay,
They said
Steve.
hashtag LOL manual.
Yeah, exactly. They're like,
You're like, where do I sign this off in the logbook? They're like, how about you just tighten the bolt and go the hell away?
Right. Yeah, they're in accordance with what Steve said. Removed that. Removed in accordance with Steve.
Sounds legit to me.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Way vastly different.
Yeah, totally different world. And a lot of the guys were old aviation guys that got laid off, and they were just like, I'm going to go work on trains.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny. I left that job in 2019, at the end of 2019, to go back to aviation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got my new job, and the guys at the train place that used to work for aviation, they were like, have fun with your layoffs, dude. And I was like, ain't going to be no layoff, dude. And then, 2019, boom, COVID. Like right after I start my new job in aviation, it's like COVID. Oh, good. Great.
Yeah, awesome.
And then I didn't get laid off. I got close, but I didn't. And one of my old buddies texted me. He's like, how's your first layoff going? I was like, I haven't got laid off yet. He's like, you're kidding. I was like, no, somehow I have not. I'm still at work. And he's like, that's insane.
Yep.
And it was. I was very lucky.
Yep. And it's what I'm trying to tie this to some kind of lore where you feel like you're on the chopping block, and then you got that one give me, that kind of just like, or it looks like it's gonna hit you, then it just misses by like a hair, like, oh,
it's like at the beginning of Skyrim, when you're getting called up as the prisoner, and they lay you down to chop your head off, and then Alduin, the World Eater, comes in, and he's like, yeah. You remember that? Did you play that game?
I do remember that. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, thanks a lot, dragon. But it's a dragon, and you're like, oh, well, this is also not good.
Like, wow, it saved me.
Kinda
out of the frying. What did Gandalf say? Out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Did Gandalf say that?
It was in.
Was it in the Hobbit? Was that in the Hobbit?
It was in the Hobbit, I think.
The movies.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah, said it,
I haven't seen the movies in so long.
I think it was in the Desolation of
Smog.
Is it when they?
No, it's when
they escape the goblin caves and they're up in the trees.
No. This was Lord. It was when they were in Moria, and they survived all the goblins, and then the Balrog showed up.
Durin's Bane, dude.
Yeah, man.
That foe is beyond.
So they were like,
you.
The goblins ran away, and then the Balrog shows. He's like, out of the frying pan and into the fire. And then they take off running,
peacing out, dude. Yeah, that foe's beyond any of them. Swords are no use there.
And especially for something like that, I'm gonna be honest. I'm like, when I saw the movie, it didn't click at all about the books, because the book said it was like this giant, like, demon immortal thing, right? And then here comes the movies, and like it painted a totally different picture of how I saw it in the book. But like, well, that looks equally scary. Fuck it, like this giant minotaur fire thing.
Action flame.
Yeah, that's bad news when you see that, dude. Drums in the deep. Not a fan.
Nope, not a fan at all, right?
The dwarves dug too greedily. They dug too deep. They didn't know what they woke into the mines.
Yep.
So there was, like, in the lore, I think there was actually 2 or 3 Balrogs that were under Morgoth. Morgoth's the one who created them.
I think there was 12.
Oh, 12.
There was a lot.
But what's her face? The Witch of the Wood. In her younger years, she was one of the ones she banished a few of them herself.
Well, there was the fall of Gondolin, and which Gondolin was besieged by a bunch of Balrogs, and Glorfindel killed one there. I think, Glorfindel killed one during the fall of Gondolin, and then he was later resurrected, and in the Third Age, and went to Rivendell in Lodris and dwelt there. And he was the one that rescued Frodo after he got stabbed on Weathertop with his horse. They changed it. They changed it to Arwen in the movies, but in the books, Glorfindel's horse takes Frodo back to Rivendell, and Glorfindel helps Aragorn and the rest of the hobbits fight off the ring wraiths and get to the fort of Brunnen.
Okay.
I don't know why I know all this.
We're about to say
here listening. I'm trying to enhance my knowledge as well. So it's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was rereading the books one day. Like, I was a casual fan, not a casual fan. Like I was really into it, right? But not like I am now. And even now, compared to some of the people I talk to that are like Tolkien heads, I'm a total poser. They know so much more than I do. I'm like, and I feel like I know a lot, but these people know a lot.
There's this one YouTube channel I watch a lot when it comes to Lord of the Rings stuff. What is this? Nerd of the Rings.
Nerd of the Rings. Nerd of the Rings is awesome.
Yeah,
I love that channel.
Like majority of the Lord of the Rings, or actually any of that lore, I mostly got from Nerd of the Rings. So
yeah, that's a quality channel. But yeah, I was remember reading it, and you read these one sentence, and you're just like, well, what does that mean? And then you realize you can just dive completely into it, right? And then I just get like hyper fixated on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole thing. I read one chapter of a book, any of the books, and I'm just like, now I need to spend 3 hours researching this chapter.
That's kind of like us right now with Warhammer, man. Like,
yeah, that's exactly it.
You know, like
I feel
we get one piece of it, right? Like, hey, by the way, the Emperor's not really what you think he is. Like, say what, right? And then you go and if you figure out just how deep this goes, like, oh, this goes back way back. Like,
yeah, I saw something where it was hit, is the Emperor now on God? And I was like, is the Emperor now on God? And it was just one sentence, and then that's been like a week and a half's worth of research.
Y'all play the tabletop?
No. I don't know if I can afford that much.
No. Somebody once told me to get your kids into tabletop Warhammer because then they won't get into drugs because they won't have any money because they'll spend all their money on Warhammer.
Does D&D count? Does D&D count? Because I got my kids into D&D.
That's pretty close, yeah. I don't think D&D is as expensive, though, because you don't have the figurines really as much.
Right. True.
Well, Six has a couple of figurines now.
Right.
Painting on and stuff.
That's awesome.
But
not like Warhammer, though. Warhammer's crazy.
Oh,
Warhammer people go off, dude.
This legit.
D&D's awesome too, though. I wish I could still play it. I don't know anybody that plays D&D like in person.
I mean, we're kind of thinking of it ourselves, wink.
I know.
I've never actually really played it. Six is into it, and he kind of reads me the rules. He's even got a whole app that kind of explains things to you in layman's terms. But
yeah, it's sick. It's awesome.
It's definitely legit. And with the Warhammer stuff, like I'm nerding out myself. Like most of the stuff I just got, like it was kind of like the give me's. Like I bought a magazine that came with 2 figures, or I bought like X amount of paintbrushes. Like, hey, here's a free figure. Like this is how you guys suckered me in, man. Like this is how I spend like $100 to $300 a visit. Like it's like you're like Target, man. Like
their marketing plan is immaculate. You know,
right? Yeah, you're the evil eye on the tower, man. I was like, I try to avoid you, but you just keep calling me in. Like,
dude, I could never paint the figures. I've got like, not that I'm not patient enough. I just like, I got kind of shaky hands.
Oh,
right?
I do too.
And so like, they just would not look good. They look bad.
I do too. Like hands down, my.
Don't let them fool you, Max. They're pretty good paintings.
This is a lie. This is a lie and a half. Erroneous on both counts. So. What you could try, man, because this is how I do it, because my hands shake like crazy. I would do the dry brush method, where you just have like a mostly dry brush and some paint, and just kind of like buff it in, like I'm trying to scrape off rust from a panel, and it turns out decent. Like, oh yeah, this is good enough, you know, considering that I can't keep my hands still. Like, don't trust me with brain surgery, everybody, but. That's my hot tip for if anyone ever want to try mini painting. Maybe not so much the wet painting. Maybe try something that's more along the lines of dusting. I can dust.
my dad calls our hands because his hands are like that. My grandpa's are. My brothers are. Mine are. He calls them our family surgeon hands.
Surgeon hands.
Yeah,
it's my strong hand.
When I got the current job I have now, I was putting on sidewall panels, and some of my buddies were watching me like get the fasteners in. They're like, "You doing all right, bud?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And they're like, "Why are you shaking?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. Maybe it's because I had a banana and 6 cups of coffee today. That's all I've had." So
we make those jokes where I would say, "I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm coming down. Leave me alone."
Yeah, I need some coffee, bro. And they're like, "I think you need the opposite of that." And I'm like, maybe. You're right. Either way, I feel like I want more. I'll work around it. You mind your own business.
Pretty funny. You're like, I don't remember seeing your doctorate. browser anywhere.
Yeah. They're like, how much caffeine's too much? I'm like, you can have 8 cups of coffee, right? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you sure about that? And they're like, yeah, that's too much coffee, Max. I'm
Actually,
like,
we had a dietitian and stuff on, and she said, what was it? 6? It was like I think you can actually almost have up to 12 cups of coffee before it starts getting like
okay,
dangerous.
let's go, dude. Yes.
Well, I think they said I can't remember the number, but I remember they said like after a certain point, caffeine starts to have the opposite effect on you. Like instead of pepping you up, it's actually putting you to sleep. I'm like, well, shit.
I believe that because there are times I'm like, why is this Red Bull making me sleepy?
Yeah. They made the what the heck was the correlation? They made the correlation to say like people like kids with ADHD when they take Adderall or whatever that that medicine is to keep you awake, like it has the opposite effect on them because like they've already hit their caffeine limit for or whatever it is, and then you add more and then it just has the opposite effect, puts them to sleep. Right. Fun fact for all of you, everyone out there.
I do love that. Well, yeah, like I think I normally have like about 4 cups of coffee a day, maybe 5. That seems okay. That seems reasonable to me.
That's like, yeah, for me, I used to do that, and then I like when I was deployed, and then I just started like my heart started hurting, and I started being like jittery and twitchy all the time. Like is it Twitch from South Park?
Yeah.
That was me essentially, and so I cut it back to one cup a day. So I've been on for a number of years now. I've been on 1 cup a day.
Does it work good?
Yeah, some days are better than others. Usually, like, usually towards the end of the week, like, you know, like tomorrow will probably be a 2 cup day, and Friday will be a 2 cup day or whatever. But I try to keep it narrowed down a little bit. I just don't want that feeling again, you know.
I try to see how many cups of like black Folgers coffee I can have on an empty stomach before I start getting a tummy ache.
You're trying to see sounds and taste colors is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to ascend into another plane.
He's trying to elevate himself to that higher plane, that third eye.
Oh, yeah, exactly, dude. I'm trying to open it up so I can see things that nobody else has seen before.
Right. He's trying to high five Eru, you know what I mean?
Right. It hasn't worked yet. I just get stomach aches. I'm like, oh, why do I feel like crap? And like, what have you had to eat today? I'm like, nothing.
So when you make your content and whatnot, like with the facts and with the airplanes and whatnot, I'm sorry, with the lore, I'm trying to find a good way to word this. All of a sudden I'm drawing a blank now. It's one of those like you had it good in your head, you had the epiphany moment, like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing, and then as soon as you try to use words to put it out,
yeah, that's what happens all the time, man.
That's kind of me with the Silmarillion, man.
That's a tough one.
You know, like I'm jazzed up, I'm ready to read. Like, all right, I understand bits and pieces of Elvish. We're gonna kind of power through it and get context and everything. And then as soon as you open the book, like,
there's an audio book read by Andy Serkis, which is really good. Highly recommend that.
Definitely good.
He's the actor that did Golem and stuff, and he does
nice.
he does a really good reading of it, and it makes it very a lot more palatable than it is just reading it.
I gotta give that a shot now, especially because the actor himself, he's actually really good. So when
it's awesome.
When he does his live interviews and whatnot, I was like, hey, can you do the Gollum voice? Like, I never would expect it to come from him.
Oh, it's crazy.
But he does it so well. Like, how?
Yeah. So he has a reading of the Silmarillion on audiobook, if you like audiobooks, and it's really nice. He does a really good job.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. He did the whole trilogy too. There's another guy that did the reading of it too, which I heard was really good. This is my first time listening to it on audiobook, or really ever listening to an audiobook, and it was lovely. Because for some reason I'm like, yeah, I need to read it again. I need to listen to it again.
Right. Same here. Like, and especially for something as dense as that, like I've heard it's been a struggle for a lot of people, even people who are really adept at reading. Like, well, at least I know like the struggle is not mine alone. Like I'm just not an idiot who just can't read.
No, it's written really dryly. So it's like written like a history book or like a Bible. It doesn't read like it doesn't have like story narratives, right? It's just kind of a history. So it's very dry.
Gotcha.
And it's very dense. And you're just kind of like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah, you got to be super. You almost have to research on other people who have done the research before to get some base understanding. And then when you read it, you can put visuals to what you're reading, sort of. You know,
there was
at least that helps me some.
Yeah, there was the first time I read it, I read it alongside a podcast called the Prancing Pony Podcast, and they have like a chapter by chapter breakdown of each chapter. And so like I'd read the chapter and then I'd listen to that episode, the corresponding episode, and they'd break it down. I'm like, now I get it because somebody smarter than me helped me out.
So that's me with Nerd of the Rings. Whenever I look back at some of the Lord of the Rings lore, either the lore or the movies, I'm like, so I'll either do either or, and I'll find wherever parts that I hit with Nerd of the Rings or any other of those analytical YouTube channels. I'm like, they really like dive deep into this. Like, oh, I totally did not see that. Now I know to look for it the next time around. So that's always fun. That's pretty cool. I totally forgot the question I was going to ask, but I'll just come up with something else. When you do make your videos and your content and you actually get some feedback, has there ever been like somebody like, oh my God, dude, like thanks for making my day better, or like thanks for giving me some.
So one thing that I found really weird, because you know I made these videos and I never really expected anybody to see them. Mm-hmm. And like the first video I ever made, the one about the tire, which was the first airplane fact I posted, because I was like, what happened was I was posting on my personal Instagram page. I was posting like some like videos, like kind of just like, this is an airplane wing. It's very cool. Mm-hmm. And just like people were like, this is funny. This is making me laugh. And I made that one. And I was like, maybe I'll post it on TikTok, right? Mm-hmm. Why not? And so I was like, change my TikTok name to Airplane Facts with Max. That rhymes. And then it just like took off, right? Mm-hmm. And ever since that video, like it got like 100,000 views. I was like, this is insane, right? Mm-hmm. And now I have like a video that made like 17 million views. It's crazy. But like the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Like, so when they first started taking off, I've spent a lot of time on the internet, you know, growing up with it. And I was like, hey, well, here come the trolls, right? I'm starting to get these like videos that start getting a lot of views. People are going to start trolling. And it just hasn't really happened. Everybody's been very positive. It's like the most positive thing. It's awesome.
That is really
and like a lot of people like, this is making these make my day better. These are funny. And I'm like, this is weird. This is crazy.
Yeah.
There's a few people that like, you know, sometimes people are like, you get back to work and I'm like, I'm waiting on NDT. Tell them to get to work, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm doing this because I got downtime waiting on somebody else.
Yeah. And usually I do it
productive during a non-productive time.
Right. I literally mostly do. I would say 95% of them are all done like on lunch break because I don't want to be standing there with, you know, 10 dudes on my crew staring at me while I talk about Lord of the Rings to my phone. Like it's just I'm not going to be able to do that. That's awkward and embarrassing and weird. And so I wait till everybody's off at lunch and I'm like, all right, I got an empty plane and I got a dumb idea. Let's make it happen.
That's more or less us with this show. Like we had a hair up our ass one day. Like, you know what? We've had some struggle and strife. Let's make everyone's days a little bit better than how ours have gone, and it's slowly evolved into this thing. And I gotta admit, like it's still surreal. Like I don't believe like we're living someone else's life, you know. And it's weird to speaking of the internet. It's weird to like read Reddits, and then it's a totally different thing to read Reddits that are about you, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I get like I saw like one guy that's like, congratulations, you made a stupid video. And I was like, thank you. It's my only talent, you know? And it's just like, it don't bother me. Like I've been on the internet long enough that when somebody is nasty, you're like, it's fine, bro. Like You know, it's just it is what it like. I played Halo.
It's like, oh no, you got me. Oh,
Yeah,
ouch.
I played
Ooh.
Halo 3 on Xbox Live. Like, there's nothing you can say to me I haven't said 6 inches from the mirror to myself or something. You know, like it's fine, dude. Like,
yeah, it's like, wow, I played Xbox Live and had 10-year-olds say worse stuff. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
like
for your comments.
My skin's thick. It's fine. But for the most part, it's been really positive. It's actually been a really positive experience, which is strange for the internet. I feel like.
Right, and that likewise the same, you know. But we're glad to hear the fact that for one, you know, like it does help people get through their lives better, and that has to be like the warm and fuzzies right there.
It is, yeah, and it's weird. There's like this weird, like conflux of like Tolkien nerds, nerd lovingly, because I don't think there's anything nerdy about Tolkien. Tolkien's cool as hell. There's like weird airplane people on my page. Nothing weird about that. I'm one of them. I mean, all of these with respect, but there's like a lot of heavy metal music people. So it's like these three groups of people that are seemingly completely unrelated to one another that are all like on my page at the same time. It's very strange because you're like, is this a music person, a Tolkien person, or an airplane person? Or sometimes they're all three, or usually there's like one or the other, you know? But it's just like somebody's like, how did you get so successful on social media? I'm like, well, the secret is death metal, airplanes, and Lord of the Rings. That's the trifecta of success, apparently.
Most definitely.
Well, I think it just shows you people's like there's commonality amongst a variety of different groups of people, you know?
Yeah.
Like
and
deep down, they might not admit it on the surface, but when somebody else talks about it, it's like, oh yeah, I can get on board with this.
I don't care who you are, right? Everybody knows airplanes are cool.
Yes.
Airplanes are cool. Everybody likes airplanes. Nobody likes airports. Everybody likes airplanes. Like you see an airplane take off, you're like, that's pretty cool. It's cool. There's no other way to describe it. You're like, that's sick. That's a cool thing.
Like it's a what a feat of engineering, you know?
Exactly. Everybody likes airplanes. And like even before I had this page, you know, just as an aircraft mechanic, I'm sure you guys have had this experience too. People ask you questions about it when they find out that's what you do. Like if you're just like at a friend's barbecue, they're like, oh, he's like fixes planes or something. People are like, that's crazy. And you're like, is it? And then, you know, people always have questions about airplanes.
This is true.
People like hearing about them for some reason. Because they don't see it. Nobody sees maintenance, or they don't see the systems. They don't know how airplanes work. A lot of people.
They see the whole thing working in unison, but not the whole conglomerate working together.
Like I've posted videos like in the wheel well or something. Be like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, it's just a 737, dude. Is it? But like you realize that even though I see it every day, most people don't. You know, they've never seen that before in their life. Why would they?
You know, that's exactly right. And that brings back all the way around to how we were saying before, like, and going back to your previous point, like, you know, like so much happens, so much gets done, you know, like, but it rarely gets seen or recognized. It's just kind of like magic. Airplanes are magic.
I think like right after I got my license, I graduated and I was getting ready to move for my first job, my first aircraft mechanic job. Somebody in my family was like, so you're going to be aircraft mechanic or something? And I was like, yeah. And like, I didn't even think they broke. I never even realized they needed mechanics. And I was like, yeah, they do. They got to be fixed, you know?
So similar here, like, everyone's like, oh, you're gonna be an aircraft mechanic. They thought like scientist mechanics, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're an engineer. Like, no, not an engineer. Like, I just fix things. I'm like,
no,
yeah, but that's like super like complicated stuff, right? Like, well, it's not like disarming a nuclear bomb or anything like that, but yeah, you know, it is kind of complicated.
Yeah, some of it, yeah. And now if somebody was like, I didn't even realize they need to be fixed at the time, I was like, yeah, they got to be fixed. Now I'd be like, yeah, they always need to be fixed. They're constantly broken.
Yep.
Which that makes people uncomfortable because you're like, they're constantly broken, and you're like, yeah, but the things that broken are like minor.
It's part of a redundancy system, so you know,
exactly. Yeah,
the
you're
other
like,
two are still working.
Right. Yeah. It's fine. It's just needs to be fixed. It's fine. It's all fine.
That's why there's redundancy.
Yep. Right.
And
exactly.
And we've actually, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. What?
No, I was just saying, like, we've actually talked about that too in a previous episode where we say, like, like the duct tape is fine. It's not duct tape, obviously, but it's fine. It's totally cool. Like, we're
right. Temporary sealant. You're fine.
Yeah, we're okay. It's not actually holding anything, but it's just there for looks. Yeah, totally, 100% a-okay, friend.
Yeah. Aerodynamic smoothness, keeps some moisture out. It's all good, and everybody loves that.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Anti-corrosion efforts,
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, like you're. There's just all these little things that got to happen on airplanes. There's so much work that goes into them all the time, constantly, 24/7. And at the time when I was finishing school, like earlier, license to learn, now I know so much more about them than I did getting out of A&B school. I learned more in the field within 6 months than I ever learned in school.
Yes, most definitely. And I think a lot of that has to do too of like the, I wouldn't say the, well, I guess so, like the sense of urgency in it, right? Like if you don't do your job, then, this will affect, right? And it kind of cascades from there. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be the one, to.
Oh yeah. I remember there was one night we were working on like this door rig or something. And I was really struggling with it, right? I was like pretty new and I was troubleshooting this door issue and I was trying really hard. I was so frustrated. And the flight was getting delayed and stuff. And this guy was like, Max, it's your fault. Little Timmy's not going to make his connection and get to Disneyland. And I was like, thanks, man. Appreciate
that. Say what? Well, it's either Timmy flies in a safe plane or Timmy doesn't fly at all, right?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, Timmy's not going to see his grandma tonight. And I was like, well, you're not helping the situation right now, bud. But thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate all that.
I don't know. You're trying to tell him, like, I don't know if that sounded like motivation to you or not, but I can tell you it didn't come across as such.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. I did laugh. I get a chuckle out of it now, especially too. It is, and it's true. Like it is frustrating. I don't like seeing flights get delayed. It's frustrating.
None of us do really. Like we hate seeing flights delayed. We hate having flights that come back. We don't like planes sitting at the gate for X amount of reasons.
I've been on the plane sitting at the gate. I'm not stoked about it. Yeah. I'm like, I don't like this, and I want it to take off.
Like it's never a fun time. It's usually someone's getting their asses handed to them. To like, why is my plane late? Ugh, God,
yeah, right. I'm angry that the plane's late, but I'm not angry at anybody. I honestly just kind of feel more bad for whoever's dealing with what I know is happening.
Yeah,
like behind the scenes, I'm like, oh man, these people are just, if not more upset than you are. Trust me.
Yep. Say, Max, before we sign off, can you give us like another quick fact, like how you normally would with some of your videos?
Ooh, man, what kind of fact do you want?
Ooh, I don't know. MVP, you got any preference?
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you, what's your favorite system on the 737 that you're working on? So maybe hit us with a fact from your favorite system, if you have one.
Well, let's see. Lately, I've been working quite a bit on the 737 landing gear. I've been doing a lot of work on the landing gear, replacing them. And it is nice. The landing gear is interesting to remove. I like dealing with like more the bigger jobs like that, removing the whole landing gear, which is not quite as big as the undertaking that Frodo took when he had to transport the ring from the Shire to Rivendell and go through the town of Bree and through the Old Forest, where he was almost taken by the Withywindle River before he was rescued by Tom Bombadil and sent on his way, where again he fell into the Barrow-wights caverns and had to call upon Tom Bombadil again to rescue them. That's what I got right now. You put me on the spot. That's the best I can do on the spot right now.
That was really good.
Yeah, the whole time I'm trying to like not. I'm like biting myself. Like, please don't laugh out loud. This is too good.
I've done better. I could have done better. I didn't have a fact ready, but I tried.
No, that's no worries. And like we were joking amongst ourselves. Like, I hope he does something like, "Hey guys, meeting with you is like when Elrond assembled the 6 heroes from across the realm to speak about the foreboding doom, which eventually led to the creation of the Fellowship of the Ring, to escort Frodo and the one ring to the fires of Mountain Dew, which ultimately failed. And
you got it pretty good, dude.
I mean,
yours was better than mine.
Not even.
Oh no, I'm passing the crown,
little
bro.
preparation went into this one though. We were talking about it a few hours before this happened.
All right. Next time I come on here, I'm gonna have like several facts ready to go in my head of just something. That was the best I could do on off the cuff.
I mean, off the cuff, that was really good considering the fact that we had to like prepare this for hours. Sitting there like, what's a good one, man? Like, he's going to hit us hard, man. We got to come with something good.
Oh, man. No, man. It's all good. But thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. We definitely
appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Yeah. I'll do it again sometime if you guys want.
Oh, most definitely.
For sure.
So for any final thoughts for the audience listening, we can start with Mr. MVP.
No, none really on my side. Just do some of your LOTR research so the next time Max comes on, you guys can be just as versed as he is in some of what we are.
Yep. Mr. Max, any final thoughts?
Stay safe when you're working and drink lots of water. Hydration's important.
Yes, most definitely important. But again, hey, let us know what you guys think. Have you checked out any of Max's videos? Have you seen any of other different facts that you know that can correlate to some of the nerdy things that we've talked about? Matter of fact, I think Max had mentioned it already, but you can find him on Instagram and TikTok too, right, Max?
Yeah, both of them. Both are just airplane facts with Max.
Airplane facts with Max, got it.
No spaces, just that.
Yep, you get wonderful tropes of knowledge about both airplanes and Lord of the Rings. Sometimes Star Wars too.
Yeah, I pepper in a little bit of that sometimes.
I love it, every single bit of it. But let us know what you think. Like, what sort of stuff that have you noticed? What sort of things that you know that you can learn from? What ways do you help your day go by? What sort of things, lines you're willing to not cross? All sorts of stuff like that. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in our social medias, our website, or emails. Whichever way is the absolute easiest way for you to get a hold of us. The best way to get a hold of us is via our Discord channel on Patreon. We have all sorts of different conversations like this. I think our collection of Patreon is probably like, besides Max, is our biggest collection of nerds there is. Like, I can actually like talk about D&D and not feel like a total loser for doing it. But
nothing being a loser about D&D. It's cool. Only cool people play D&D.
Yeah, I feel better about myself now. I'm failing upwards. Hell yeah. I am failing upwards.
Never say a loser plays D&D because only cool people play it.
Yes, absolutely. On that note, thanks again, Max, for coming with us. And every single one of you, thank you all for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you again, Max.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.